If you enjoy farm podcasts, then tune into Carrot Cash Flow for all things farm business. Join us as we explore the latest trends, tips, and stories from market farmers running businesses just like yours. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or just starting out, our podcast has something for everyone. Listen in and grow with us. Available on all major podcast platforms. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Carrot Cash Flow today. For arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, how would you define that to the layperson?
That is tricky. They're very complicated little things. Even the species concepts for AM fungi they're all over the place. But essentially what they are, they're plant simian. If I was going to talk to a layperson, I would say it's a soil microbe that can help plants. That's the easiest way to think about it. But they don't always help plants. Some are not very beneficial at all, for example. So there's lots of caveats to everything in ecology.
Can they survive on their own without plants?
They cannot. So they have this thing called a spore. And if you've looked at my social media or anything, I'm always posting pictures of spores. There's these little bright color circles. They're often yellow or red or somewhere in between. But the spore is like their seed. So it's their dormant structure and their reproductive structure as well. And these spores can last for, in some cases, a couple of years. But they're not growing. They're just sitting there. So they can survive in their seed-like form, aka the spore, for a while. But they can't grow at all. They require a plant to feed them carbon continuously to grow.
So spores in the soil, dormant. Plant was there. There was a AMF community thriving. Plant's gone for whatever reason now. Spores are left. A new plant comes in. What's the trigger, the biological trigger to take that spore and say, oh, something's here. Like I need to non-spore.
That is the question, and something that the commercial industry of mycorrhizal inocular production is interested in too. What is dormancy and how to break dormancy? So some of the fungi, as soon as they're wet, they start to grow. They start to germinate. They start to creep out and look for a root. And if they don't find one, they die. Other species or other isolates might not necessarily grow right when they're wet, but they can send some sort of carbohydrate or sugar signal and then start to grow.
Is a spore similar to a seed in the sense of there's some carbohydrate stored energy that lets that fungi send out some hyphae for a certain distance, but eventually that food source is depleted, so it has to make that connection before it's gone?
Exactly, yeah. And these are microorganisms, right? So a spore it's a single cell, but it's one of the biggest single cells on the world. You can see it with your human eye, this single cell. So some of them can be quite large. The tip of a pen, around 500 micrometers, you can see these things. So they're packed with a bunch of nuclei, tons of genetic information, and a bunch of fat, lipids. And yes, they use this to start to grow.
So hyphae's out there wiggling its way through cracks in the soil. It comes upon a root. Do we know what then happens to initiate that exchange? Is it like, can the hyphae sense a chemical coming off the root? Can the root sense the fungi? What happens there that they don't just meet as two passersby and you'll just glance off of each other?
I think it is pretty random, right? But there is some chemical signaling, and that will allow the fungi to come in contact with the root and form the initial colonization structure inside of the root, which is called the apophysium. And so the plant will allow the fungus to do this. And there's been some work shown even in non-mycorrhizal plants like kale, for example. The brassicas are a type that don't associate with this fungi. But there has been some evidence that the fungi can form these initial structures and colonize the roots, but the colonization is very short term. The plant doesn't make space for this structure called the arbuscule, which is of the name Arbuscular Mycorrhizal Fungi, and that's where that nutrient exchange happens. So for some reason, in some plants, they have evolved to not have this structure and this association with these fungi, which is atypical because it's around 85% of plant families associate with arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, and they've been around since basically the plants left the ocean, 465 million years estimated. So all that time as plants were crawling out of the ocean and exploring land, fungi were right there with them.
Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower, a proud retailer of the Sumi Soaker system. The Sumi Soaker system is an irrigation game changer. It offers multiple advantages for market gardeners. Even gentle watering without dry spots common with wobblers. The system is lightweight and portable, so you can use it with quick rotation crops. It's low maintenance with no parts to break or clog. It's versatile. You can use it for direct seeding, transplants, and cover crops. And it's very cost effective compared to overhead options. And maybe one of its best and most unique features is it can put down water in a rectangular pattern, which is very different than rotating sprinklers that leave circular patterns, often with dry corners and overwatered centers. If you want to learn more about the Sumi Soaker system, use the link below or visit us at shop.moderngrower.co.